From Northern Avenue in Yerevan, this is ＳիվիլNeթ's Daily News Digest. I'm Nuriya, and here are the top stories for Wednesday, March 26. Azerbaijan questions the safety of the Metsamor Nuclear Power Plant at the Nuclear Security Summit in The Hague. Also, environmental activists disrupt a conference on mining in Yerevan and offer polluted water to ministers. Plus, the agreement on Armenia's entry into the customs union to be signed in May. And later, see our continuing coverage on the situation of the Armenians in Kesab, Syria. As we reported yesterday, President Serge Sarkisyan was in the Netherlands on an official visit and to take part in the Nuclear Security Summit in The Hague. In his speech at the summit, Sarkisyan said that Armenia has been actively involved in international security processes. He said that Armenia ratified a number of conventions to ensure the safety and security of the Metsamor Nuclear Power Plant. Referring to Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev's concern about the security of the power plant, which was raised at the summit, Sarkisyan said, "Today, the President of Azerbaijan raised the issue of the safety of the Armenian Metsamor Nuclear Power Plant. I would like to note that we closely cooperate with the IAEA in ensuring the safety of the Armenian nuclear power plant via consistent implementation of the requirements set by the agency's technical documents. With reference to the rumors raised that we have had troubles related to radioactive waste, such a lie is first and foremost a demonstration of non-confidence towards international structures, since we coordinate all our programs with the IAEA. A conference organized by the government of Armenia and the World Bank entitled Responsible Mining in Armenia: Opportunities and Challenges was disrupted by environmental activists yesterday. Days leading up to the conference, activists had announced that they were going to hold an altar conference, which they called Irresponsible Mining, outside of the venue. However, the environmentalists entered the conference room holding up signs and banners reading "Hands off Armenia," "You mine, we die," and others. Their objective was to raise issues concerning several controversial mining projects in the country, which they say is causing irreversible damage to the environment. Ministers and other high-ranking government officials, representatives of international organizations, such as Jean-Michel Happy, the country manager of the World Bank in Armenia, and ambassadors representing foreign missions to Armenia were participating in the conference. Prime Minister Tikran Sarkisyan was supposed to attend but never showed up. Several activists offered glasses of murky water to the ministers of economy and nature protection, which they say they brought back from rivers that had been polluted due to mining. Armenian Prime Minister Tikran Sarkisyan said that Yerevan has implemented most of the necessary measures and amendments as part of the roadmap for Armenia's entry into the customs union. Sarkisyan said that the agreement on entry into the customs union will be signed in May 2014. It is expected that in June the parliaments of Russia, Kazakhstan, Belarus, and Armenia will ratify the agreement, and Armenia will become a member of the union on January 1, 2015. The World Bank approved a $21.2 million credit for the Social Protection Administration project in Armenia. The project will support the government of Armenia in improving social protection service delivery and strengthening analytical, monitoring, and evaluation functions of the agencies delivering social protection benefits and services. It will help the government to cope with high unemployment, poverty, and vulnerability, which disproportionately affect women. According to Jean-Michel Happy, World Bank country manager for Armenia, with the introduction of the integrated social services delivery model and new case management practices, Armenia has made substantial improvements in how the social protection system functions. Happy went on to say, "The main beneficiaries of the project will be vulnerable children, women, and men, including senior citizens who face multiple and complex livelihood challenges and are usually furthest away from the labor market." The Global Fund to Fight AIDS, Tuberculosis, and Malaria will provide Armenia with $8.5 million under a new program to combat tuberculosis. Armenia is on the list of countries that will receive 3-year grants, but must develop a special plan of action, which is expected to launch in the autumn. Since 2007, Armenia has received a total of 60 million euros for its national program of tuberculosis control. Most of those funds were used to procure anti-TB drugs, which are very expensive. Treatment for patients requires anywhere from 6 months to 2 years and can cost up to $5,000 US. In 2013, 1,055 new cases of TB were reported in the country, and currently about 1,000 patients with the disease are being treated. Now let's turn our attention to the city of Kesab, Syria. The Mother See of Holy Echmiadzin issued a statement regarding the crisis in Kesab. The statement said that His Holiness Karakin II, Supreme Patriarch and Catholicos of all Armenians, had a telephone conversation with His Holiness Aram I, Catholicos of the Great House of Cilicia, concerning the seizure of the historic village of Kesab by Syrian rebels, which resulted in the evacuation of the Armenian population, including the destruction and shelling of homes and places of worship. His Holiness expressed deep concern over the events unfolding in Kesab and condemned the actions of extremists who received assistance from Turkey. The Catholicos of all Armenians affirmed that the Mother See of Holy Echmiadzin and its diocesan structures dispersed throughout the diaspora will continue to support the Syrian Armenians, praying for the re-establishment of peace in the lives of the people of Syria and the safe return of the deported and refugee families. Commenting on the situation in Kesab, the Deputy Speaker of Armenia's Parliament, Edward Shamazanov, said that the attack on the Armenian-populated village of Kesab must be a signal not only to Armenia and the countries in the region, but to the UN, international organizations, and the international community that deals with human rights issues. Shamazanov said that such attacks in the 21st century are unacceptable and went on to say, "Everyone must understand that national minorities are subject to protection under the UN regulations, and in this case, all relevant institutions have things to do." Also, a special parliamentary delegation from Armenia has been dispatched to the region to learn more about the situation on the ground. Late yesterday, the rebel brigades which infiltrated the village of Kesab issued a statement which read, "We assure our commitment to international humanitarian law by focusing on military targets and avoiding civilian positions like schools, hospitals, houses of worship, and homes, and will assist the passage of humanitarian aid and will not use internationally banned weapons in civilian areas." However, eyewitness accounts attest the opposite. In the statements released by the Mother See and the Great House of Cilicia, it is noted that homes have been burned and churches desecrated. Sources in the village of Musaler, across the Syrian border in Turkey, told CivilNet yesterday that there are burning buildings and structures in the village of Karaduran, located on the seacoast. The Republic of Nagorno-Karabakh is ready to extend support to the Armenians of Kesab. Tavit Babayan, head of the President's Public Relations Department, said this and added that while it is preferable that the Armenians of Syria remain there and protect the Armenian community, which is strong and unified, however, if their lives are in danger, then Artsakh is ready to support the Syrian Armenians using all means at their disposal, including provision of housing for their resettlement in Artsakh. Vaham Badasyan, member of the Nagorno-Karabakh parliament and battalion commander during the Karabakh War, announced yesterday that armed units from Armenia should be dispatched to Kesab to defend the local Armenians. Badasyan said he is ready to lead the men and called on Armenians from the homeland and diaspora, especially those with military training, to come to the defense of the Armenians of Kesab. Concerned over the Armenians targeted and evacuated from Kesab, chair of the Canada-Armenia Parliamentary Friendship Group and member of Parliament for Kitchener-Conestoga, raised the issue in the Canadian Parliament yesterday. He directed a question to David Anderson, the Parliamentary Secretary of Foreign Affairs, regarding the situation of ethnic Armenians. Take a look.
Mr. Speaker, the crisis in Syria, which has caused perhaps the most significant humanitarian catastrophe of the 21st century, has increasingly led to the deliberate targeting of ethnic and religious minority groups. In particular, this past weekend, there were troubling reports that Armenians in the Kesab region were targeted by radical jihadists. Can the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs please comment on this situation? Thank you.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the member for his question. The targeting of ethnic and religious groups has grown since the conflict started. This is another symptom of Syria's crisis and the many political challenges that it faces, not the cause. Targeting individuals based on ethnicity or religion is an unacceptable violation of their fundamental human rights.
That's right.
I should point out that to meet the urgent need of Syrians and those in the region, Canada has provided $353 million in humanitarian assistance, and we remain committed to a political solution to this crisis.
An article which appeared on France 24 2 days ago says that the Armenians of Kesab were victims of ethnic cleansing. France 24 cited Fabrice Balanche, director of the research and study group dealing with the Mediterranean and the Middle East, and an expert on Syrian affairs, who said that the March 21 attack on the town of Kesab by Syrian rebels would not have been possible without the military support and green light of Turkish authorities. The article goes on to say that as early as 2012, a Turkmen rebel fighting alongside other mercenaries warned the Armenians of Kesab that there would be civilian casualties and, quote, a second genocide if they did not leave their village before the Free Syrian Army offensive. As the war rages on in Syria, 4 Armenians were wounded after the Holy Trinity Zvartnot's Armenian Catholic Church in the Norkyugh district of Aleppo was shelled. The attacks damaged residential buildings and homes near the church. The injured include a young man and a woman, a mother and child. No fatalities were reported. One of the rockets that hit a neighboring home belonging to an Armenian family erupted into fire. Armenian volunteer brigades were on the scene immediately and tried to contain the fire. The exchange rate is up on your screen as we take a look at your forecast. Yerevan will be partly cloudy and will have a high of 23 and a low of 5. Gyumri will have a high of 18 and a low of -3. The capital of Artsakh, Stepanakert, will have a high of 18 and a low of 5. And our travel forecast takes us to the romantic city of Paris, France, where the high will be 12 degrees Celsius and the low 1. Armenians have a long history in France dating back to the 6th century. Following the Arab invasion of Armenia in the 9th century, many Armenians began relocating to France. During this period, some Armenians became instrumental in ushering in the era of Carolingian architecture and influencing European church architecture. Armenian architect Odo of Metz built the 9th century Germanie des Prés monastery. During the Crusades between the 11th and 14th centuries, relations flourished between Cilicia, Armenia, and France. The Hedumite dynasty of Armenia became intimately involved with the French Lusignan dynasty. Intermarriages were common between the two royal families, and the Lusignan dynasty briefly ruled the Cilician kingdom of Armenia. This French-Armenian era lasted until the death of Leo V, whose body is interred at the monastery of Saint Denis in Paris. After the Armenian genocide, the French greatly assisted in relocating Armenians to France. By 1920, about 60,000 Armenians lived in France, including Armenian intellectuals such as Gomidas, Arshak Chobanyan, Levon Pashalyan, and Shahan Shahnur. Today, it is estimated that the French-Armenian population is anywhere between 250 to 750,000 people. Many Armenians live in Paris, where there is a thriving community with churches, schools, and cultural events. Paris is also home to many Armenian newspapers and radio broadcasts. There are many famous French Armenians, including Charles Aznavour and Rosie Armen, former French Prime Minister Edouard Balladur, and military hero Misag Manouchian. And that is our digest for this Wednesday, March 26. We leave you today with a performance in Yerevan by Rosie Armen singing Kisher Terek back in 2007. Have a great day, and I will see you back here tomorrow.
Metsamor